All right, so hey everyone, and welcome back. We're diving deep today into Hilton's Q3 2024 earnings call transcript. And get this, they just dropped some pretty big news. Record-breaking hotel openings, like
Okay.
more than any other quarter in their history. They're at a whopping 8,000 hotels globally now. And get this, they hit 200 million Hilton Honors members. That's a whole lot of points being collected out there. But here's where things get a little, I don't know, a little more interesting. They beat their EBITDA and EPS guidance. That's earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization, and earnings per share. But their RevPA, revenue per available room, was softer than analysts expected. So to break all this down and help us really understand what's going on, we've got, our expert here on all things hospitality.
Well, thanks for having me. It is really fascinating to see these numbers, right? On the surface, it does seem a little strange, but there were some factors at play. They saw a bit of a slowdown after Labor Day, a softer ramp up than they had anticipated. And then, a couple of weather impacts, some unfavorable calendar shifts also contributed to the dip. And we can't forget those ongoing labor disputes in the U.S. Those have been affecting the travel industry in general.
Right, yeah, of course. So some unexpected things happening in Q3, but what does all this mean for, you and me? Our trip, should we be waiting for some amazing deals, or is that just wishful thinking?
Well, those Q3 events did have some impact, for sure. But when you zoom out and look at the bigger picture, the overall travel trends, they're actually looking really positive. Business travel is making a comeback. Companies are sending people out again. And group travel, that segment's really strong. Conferences and events are back in full swing. And even though leisure travel is normalizing a bit, after that initial surge, it's still above pre-pandemic levels. People are really prioritizing travel experiences. And all of this means that hotels, they've got the power to keep prices steady.
So no super cheap hotel rooms coming anytime soon.
All right, got to keep that in mind for my next trip. But speaking of hotels, let's talk about all those new hotels Hilton's been opening. Over 500 new hotels opened this quarter, and they hit that 8,000 hotels milestone. That's got to be a pretty big deal. Oh, it's huge. Reaching that number, it really shows that Hilton's brands are strong. They're not just surviving, they're thriving. And it's not just the quantity, it's the brands themselves. Home 2 Suites, for example, has more than doubled its footprint in the last 5 years. They're at 700 hotels now.
Yeah.
And then there's their new brand, Spark.
Yeah.
Just a year after launch, they've already got over 6,000 rooms. Talk about a fast start.
That's hugely impressive. And, speaking of reaching further, I was excited to read about their partnership with Small Luxury Hotels of the World, or SLH. Sounds like a great upgrade for, well, Hilton Honors members like me. What's the deal with that partnership?
It's pretty major. Think about it. You get access to all these unique, high-end boutique hotels in 70 countries, more ways to use your Hilton Honors points. And you get to experience those unique, special properties. It's about expanding what's possible for Hilton Honors members.
Okay, I'm already picturing myself, at some chic hotel in Italy, maybe. But here's something else I noticed. Conversions were a big part of those new openings. I think it was like 60%. So what's the reason for that? Why are so many hotels going the conversion route?
Well, it really shows how strong the Hilton brand is and what they offer. Those independent hotels, they see the value in joining a brand like Hilton. They get access to those established systems, the global marketing power, and that huge loyalty program with millions of members. It's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, who wouldn't want to be a part of that?
Right. And you have brands like Spark. They're actually designed for conversions. They make it easier for hotels to join the Hilton family. It's flexible, it's growing quickly, and it's performing well. That makes it a good option for conversions.
It's not just the name, it's the whole package. And of course, the lending environments are getting better. That's got to make these conversions easier.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's like everything is aligning. It's the perfect environment for conversions to happen.
So 2024 is shaping up to be a great year for Hilton, that's for sure. But what about 2025? Will things slow down, or will this growth keep going?
Well, Chris Nassetta, Hilton's CEO, he said he expects 2025 to be similar to 2024 in terms of same-store sales growth.
Oh, okay, interesting. But, the world's a big place. How does he see things playing out across different regions and segments?
Yeah, good point. It's not the same everywhere. He breaks it down strategically. For the U.S., he expects growth to be similar to 2024. Steady, but not explosive.
Okay, that makes sense. What about other parts of the world?
Well, Asia-Pacific is expected to do even better,
Mhm.
in part because China is bouncing back, and there's a lot of economic stimulus happening there, which should help travel demand. And, even without China, Asia-Pacific is already performing well.
Asia Pacific is definitely one to keep an eye on. What about Europe?
Europe might see slightly slower growth compared to this year. but it's still expected to be strong, probably the strongest in terms of RevPAR growth.
So each region has its own story, basically. But what about those travel segments? Group travel, business travel, and leisure. What does he say about those?
Well, starting with group travel, it's expected to remain strong. They're already seeing bookings up in the double digits for 2025 and 2026. So strong bookings and continued pricing power should drive solid growth.
Okay, so group travel's looking good. What about those of us traveling solo or with family? What's the outlook for business and leisure travelers?
For business transient travel, which has been steadily coming back,
Right.
we're likely to see continued growth, maybe even exceeding pre-pandemic levels. Companies are sending their people back on the road. Combine that with the pricing power we talked about, and you have the recipe for healthy growth.
So work trips are back. What about leisure trips?
Leisure travel, well, it was the star of the recovery. It'll probably keep normalizing, but it'll still be positive. Demand might flatten out a bit as that initial post-pandemic travel surge subsides, but with strong pricing power, this segment should stay in positive territory.
Okay, so even if it's not as crazy as it was right after the pandemic, leisure travel is still going to be a big part of Hilton's success. So what's the main takeaway here? What does all of this mean for Hilton's strategy?
Chris Nassetta talked about something he calls algorithm growth. It's basically combining same-store sales growth and unit growth to drive overall growth.
Algorithm growth. I like that. It's like having two engines working together.
Exactly.
Yes.
Simple but effective, backed by data and a deep understanding of the industry.
Okay, so they have a clear vision for growth. But what does all this mean for us, the travelers?
Here's the takeaway. Hilton is in a really strong position. They're navigating a complex environment successfully. They're growing strategically. And maybe most importantly, they're focused on delivering value for both investors and guests like you.
All right, so Hilton's doing well. That much is clear. But let's think bigger for a second. Remember all those conversions we talked about? That got me thinking. With Hilton focusing so much on conversions, I mean, what does that mean for those independent hotels out there? Is this like the beginning of some huge shift in the industry?
It really makes you think, doesn't it? I mean, you've got those independent hotels offering those unique experiences, that kind of boutique charm that some travelers love. But joining a brand like Hilton has its advantages, right?
Right.
Global marketing, a huge loyalty program with millions of members, those well-established systems, it can really help you compete. It's a tough choice for those independent hotels.
It's almost like David and Goliath, but in the hotel world.
I like that analogy. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Will we see those independent hotels maybe teaming up to create their own networks? Or will they be drawn in by those big brands like Hilton? I'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, it's a turning point for the industry, for sure. Well, we've covered a lot today. Record openings, a strong business model, and even a potential shakeup in the industry. But I want to go back to those Hilton Honors numbers for a second. 200 million members. That's incredible, right?
It's amazing. It
Yeah.
really shows how powerful loyalty programs are. People love getting those points and perks. They want to feel like they're part of something. And Hilton has done a great job keeping people engaged and coming back for more.
They have. They've been adding new ways to earn and use points, like their partnership with small luxury hotels.
Exactly. That's what you have to do to stay ahead. It's not just about free nights anymore. It's about creating a whole experience, something that really resonates with travelers.
Like they're creating their own world for their loyal guests.
You got it. It makes you feel like you belong. It's not just about staying at a hotel. It's about being part of a community,
Yeah.
getting exclusive perks and rewards.
I get it. And I think Hilton is onto something big. It's more than just a loyalty program. It's a whole brand experience.
I agree. And other brands are taking notice. The competition is fierce, and loyalty programs are a big part of that.
It's not just about where you go anymore. It's about who you travel with.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's about making those connections with travelers, creating experiences that really matter.
So they have all these loyal customers, but what about Airbnb and VRBO? How is Hilton competing with those alternative accommodations?
It's a great question. The travel landscape is changing so fast, and the lines between traditional hotels and those alternative accommodations are blurring. But Hilton is facing it head on.
Okay, so what are they doing?
Well, they're focusing on what they do best, delivering amazing hospitality. It's about those seamless, personalized experiences, making guests feel valued, going above and beyond, making every interaction positive and memorable.
So it's like, in a world that's all about booking online and doing things yourself, they're focusing on that human connection.
Exactly. They understand that human connection is at the heart of hospitality. It's something that those alternative accommodations often miss.
It's true. But convenience is important too, right? People want easy booking, flexibility options.
Oh, absolutely. And that's where technology comes in. Hilton is constantly using technology to improve the guest experience, like their mobile app. You can check in, choose your room, unlock your door, all from your phone. They're making things easy for their guests.
It's like they're right there with you.
Exactly. And they're not stopping there. They're exploring things like artificial intelligence and virtual reality. It's all about making things better for the guests.
So they're embracing technology. But what about different types of travelers? Like a business traveler has different needs than a family on vacation.
Well, that's where their different brands come in. They have something for everyone, from budget travelers to luxury travelers. They've got Waldorf Astoria for that classic luxury, Canopy for the modern traveler, Home2 Suites for families on longer trips.
They've got a hotel for every type of traveler.
They do. And they're always evolving their brands, staying ahead of trends, adapting to what travelers want.
You're not just sitting back, they're shaping the future of the industry.
That's what makes them so interesting. They're not afraid to try new things, push the boundaries.
This has been so insightful. We've talked about so much, but I want to go back to those conversions. It's fascinating, right? It's like they're not just building hotels, they're creating a network, almost like a giant franchise.
You know, that's a good way to think about it. It is similar to a franchise model. They provide the brand, the systems, the marketing, and of course that huge Hilton Honors program. And the individual hotels bring their own local knowledge and style.
It makes sense for everyone. Hilton grows quickly without having to build every hotel themselves. And those independent hotels get the power of the Hilton brand behind them.
It's a win-win. It shows how well Hilton can adapt in an industry that's changing all the time.
We've learned so much today about Hilton's world, their financial success, their growth strategies. But here's one last thought. We talked about how the industry might consolidate. But I think there's another side to that. As Hilton gets bigger, it might actually create opportunities for new and different hotels to pop up.
That's an interesting point. As the big brands grow, there's more space for smaller, more specialized hotels. Maybe we'll see more hyperlocal boutique hotels, or hotels focused on sustainability, or even hotels that offer really unique experiences.
Like in any industry, when the big players get bigger, it creates space for new players to come in and shake things up.
Exactly. That's what keeps things exciting. The hospitality industry is always changing. It'll be interesting to see what happens next.
So to everyone listening, next time you're planning a trip, think beyond just the destination. Think about the brands you like, the experiences you want, and what's important to you. There's a whole world of travel out there, and there's a perfect hotel waiting for you. Safe travels, everyone.